What's up? This is Vanessa, Moments of Clarity Podcast XXL. JFK is here, Rahman is here, Shaheem is here. No Fat Joe this week, but
damn,
I think we could still be entertaining, no?
Shout out to Fat Joe, too.
Shout out to Fat Joe.
I was reading a bunch of those comments. They love Joe.
He's a great storyteller. He's got stories for days, right?
A lot of people really enjoyed that episode.
I mean, even the stories when we weren't recording, right?
Joe was funny.
All right, this week, what's going on? It's a week before Christmas, right? So everything's slowing down. Record labels, industry shuts down tomorrow practically, right? So we'll see how much news happens. We will be back at the top of the year. But biggest news this week. First off, 6ix9ine is sentenced to 2 years in prison with 5 years of supervised release with the potential of getting out in July. Dad shows up to court, says we've never seen his dad before. Apparently he's estranged from his father, and they see each other in the courtroom. I don't know why Dad's here now. Dad said he's worried for his safety once he's released to once he gets out of prison, that people are going to try to kill him. Some of the victims of the robberies have said that of Tekashi's robberies have said that he owes them everything he made. And Tekashi's on his way out. What are your thoughts? Also, the Breakfast Club canceled him and said he will no longer be invited up there. So, one, would you have Tekashi sit with you right now if he came out?
But they playing his records, though.
And two, what do you think of the sentence?
Well, the sentence, it's funny that he got his sentence the same day Trump got impeached.
Right?
Shout out to everybody who didn't get impeached yesterday. That's the world. Other than one person. I mean, the sentence, we kind of, we've been talking about it for so long. We thought that maybe he might be able to even get out tomorrow.
I thought he was getting out that day. I don't know. I mean, I just didn't.
Get out yesterday. Yeah.
Like, he did everything already. What were you holding him for? I was surprised to see the 2 years.
But you know what though? If you face with 47 years, and you actually really do 2 years. That's a win. That's a massive win.
Years. He got to do 85%, right?
Yeah,
so
he did a year. That's a massive win. He'll probably be out by like summertime or something like that.
Yeah,
his lawyer said June, July. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, album 4th of July, Independence Day, Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Well, the judge said the hard stuff is behind him, right? So
he really gave him props too. The judge was like, "You're brave," and
he was
shitting on him too, though. You said what?
My favorite is the judge laughing at the memes. He said, "I enjoyed the memes."
The memes of him at the desk snitching on everybody was my favorite thing this year. Just, and you said, well, did you see what so-and-so did or whatever? And it's him. That was my favorite meme. I don't care what it was or who did what. That shit cracked me up every time.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting when he comes out. I'll be surprised if he doesn't do an interview while he's in jail.
He's definitely going to do one.
Yeah, I'm sure that he'll do something in jail.
Sense,
yeah, the question is where is he gonna be at? Like, they're gonna keep him in New York? Are they gonna actually ship him out somewhere? We're not gonna know any of that.
I think now they have the ability. I don't think they knew when he was getting out. Now they have the ability to really plan. Right? Where's his exit strategy? Where does he go? Does he come to New York? Do they move him to Jersey? Do they move him to Wyoming? Who knows? To hang out with Kanye or something? But I have no idea. Where does he go? What does he do? Does he come out? Does he get on Instagram immediately and talk shit? Does he try to squash beef? Does he instigate beef even more and tell YG to fuck himself? What does he do? I feel like the latter, but yeah.
I think he's gonna get out and bounce right back. Because it's the industry. The industry is unfortunately not really built on like real value foundations. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not like street codes and shit like that. It's like, there's really no rules. He has records on the radio right now, so that's a sign right there.
Well, it'd be interesting to see who collaborates with him, right? I mean, Tory Lanez seemed like he might. We've heard him. We've heard Akon speaking on it. There's been a bunch of people who have been anti him.
Akon said he might collaborate with him?
Akon said that he understood what he did. He had sympathy for what he did in the situation he was in. So he didn't say he was going to collaborate with him directly, but if you have sympathy and you're not mad at him, you might collaborate with him.
Right.
If you're anti him, then you're definitely not collaborating.
There's a bunch of people, they don't care about that street shit and snitching, and they don't give a fuck about that. They'll definitely work with him. Shout out to K. Michelle. She wants to work with him.
Shout out.
She bigged him up crazy.
Is she?
Yeah, she damn sure did.
Well, what do you think about his dad showing up to court?
I mean, you know, why is he worried now 23 years later? You know, like, where was the worry? Like,
or 12 months later, like 23 years later, and since the trial, or I mean, since the case and since everything.
You also got to give it up to him too, though, for showing his face, because it's
dad?
like, because he's, homie's like a marked man in a sense, so it's like him showing up to court, like he put a little bit of a target on himself from that.
True.
So,
Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
Are you tired of the Tekashi story yet? Like even talking about it, because y'all seem like you don't care that much. A little bit.
maybe the story. Well, go ahead.
I
me
mean,
and Shy was talking about this last night.
Yeah, I mean, now it's just like, okay, now we know what's gonna happen. Like, it's a little anticlimactic because we knew that, the DAs, they didn't really ask for any time, so we knew that he wasn't gonna get like the 37 years, anything like that. We knew it was gonna be a short sentence. Now we know exactly what it's gonna be. He'll probably be out summertime, and I don't think a lot of people gonna work with him. I have more faith in the hip hop culture than I don't think a lot of the top dogs are gonna mess with him. I don't think any of the top dogs.
So you have faith in the culture, but not maybe faith in the fans.
I mean, fans are fans. He has a fan base that ride or die with him. No matter what. Like R. Kelly has a fan base. People love what he's doing. Like your core fan base are people that's really never gonna leave you unless you are on camera murdering a baby or something like that. Like they really gonna stick to their guns, no pun intended, and stay with them. I
It makes you feel like Trump, where he's like, I could kill somebody in the street.
Yeah, and that's.
I mean, we've seen it.
Yeah, and that's why it was so ironic that both those things took place yesterday, because you have two incredibly polarizing figures who have like such a strong connection with their fan base that they can make all these reckless moves and still be quote unquote popular.
You just say who are the people that are still supporting you, and am I friends with them? Because we have to talk.
I mean, Tekashi has a record on the radio and rotation, so that right there, that just shows that there's some level of support going on with that.
I think he'll continue to be very strong internationally too. And those international.
That's where he blew up too, right?
Yeah. That's where he started. So
and not for nothing. And this is just to keep it all the way 100. Like we spend a lot of time talking about the ethics and the codes of the streets and etc. and this and that. Niggas in the streets don't buy records. They're not the ones buying records. It's the kids and the people from the suburban communities who's buying these records, and they do not give a shit about
not at all
about these rules.
They're sitting there saying, about. I wouldn't testify. I would testify also, right?
All this is doing is making them even more hotter. That's all it's doing.
I mean, I do think if he does come out, and even if he does just put his own records out, and they catch fire and he starts to blow up, I think people might change on their stance of whether to work with him again. Because I think some people will do anything to be hot, anything to get a little bit of momentum or buzz, or maybe they'll do it for the controversy of doing it.
It also depends on how sympathetic he is too. Like that first interview is gonna really set the tone for the rest of his career. Like that's gonna be a very, very pivotal interview. Like how sympathetic he comes across.
He's good at it. He is good and endearing in person. My experience with him in person.
He's a charismatic guy.
He's charismatic, endearing, person where you sit there and you're like, okay, I'm listening. So if that can resonate in an interview where he explains himself, it might connect a certain way to some people.
Listen, I did a couple of interviews with him early on when we was dealing with Revolt. Very likable guy. Called on the phone after, yo, what's up? Thank you.
The follow up, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he's like, yo, thank you for the interview. Very cool. Can we get some Ciroc? And ran into him at Dallas BBQs. He was signing autographs, very random, signing autographs for the fans and showing love. So he was a very personable guy. That's why, everything that happened with the case is just all the more disappointing because. Without the drama, I think he could have still been, a big superstar. So it's gonna be interesting to see that first interview. Excuse me, is gonna really, really set the tone for how people perceive him.
Yeah. And overall too, you know, going back to mentioning like the whole Trump thing, it's like the irony of those two situations both taking place like during the same time period is they're both gonna set the benchmark for how like these future episodes could play out. Like, you know, there's like Trump is the third president to be impeached, but we've never seen a president be impeached and still be in office and see how this shit could play out.
Right.
And then like with somebody like Tekashi, you've never like he, you know, quote unquote broke the code of the streets, you know, of doing something like that. Very popular artist, young artist, and it's working in his favor. And for him, he could get out, be super popular, and it can kind of change everything. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like how we look at like the no snitching thing, and you know all that. You know, it could be it in the eyes of a lot of people. You know, because when crimes happen and people don't talk to the police, you know, we get why they don't do that, but there are some negatives to that. You know what I'm saying? So this might be able to flip it into a positive in some sense, but on the other side, as far as like artists coming out and try to be street credible rappers and they doing stuff like that and still being able to be popular, that could be a negative as well. So it's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out.
He's definitely gonna have to alter his content. You know, he's definitely gonna have to
definitely
switch it up a little bit. I mean, him just telling his story, period, for one album, that's gonna be something I think people are gonna tune into.
Yeah, he need to tell the story.
People
real.
Gonna be curious.
Yeah, they definitely.
You know what I'm saying?
Curious.
Like,
yeah.
you know, they gonna want to hear what the first few songs is about. What is he saying? What is he making? You know, what is he talking about? The curiosity factor probably get him a platinum single right off the bat. You know, like I wouldn't be surprised if he got a platinum record, like, or at least a gold record, like the first day it came out, because everybody's gonna wanna, what is this guy talking about? It's gonna be all over the news, but he still got to tread light because he still got that 5-year probation, so. He still got is it parole, supervised?
Probation, I believe.
Yeah. So he still got to tread light.
Okay. That's Tekashi.
It's going to be very interesting. I'm still kind of shocked of all the interest over this shit.
All the interest?
Yeah, it's like
look at
up until this point.
You know, I mean, it's just it's like a cartoon character being on trial for not living gang life.
Yeah.
I mean, he was one of the biggest superstars in the music when he got, you know, he literally had like a #1 record when he went to jail, and you know, we've never seen this kind of. It's a story that you would see on Law and Order, like.
It was just so clownish to me with the way he looked and the way he acted and the things he did and him running around with his boxers and everything about him was so clownish to me. I never could take it seriously. You know, and then you'd have all these serious things going on at the same time and you'd have these hit songs, but I'd still look at it and be like, I can't even believe we're having this conversation. You know, like even the early pictures of him and the outfits, and there was the Pussy Eater outfit and the 6ix9ine on him and all the HIV stuff and everything. I was like, I just can't believe this is even working, you know, like and the rainbow hair. I was still stuck there before we even got to the other stuff, you know?
Right.
I did like the A-Boogie collaboration. All right, so we'll see what happens. All right, other news this week.
Shout out to all the niggas in jail doing real time. Just had to say that.
You think they hear us?
My brother hit me up yesterday. He was like, damn. He's like, I've been in jail for 20 years. This dude did all this shit and got out in 2 years.
Right.
And I'm sure there's a lot of guys and ladies who feel the same way.
Yeah.
That never got to really even...
They didn't even have the opportunity
to put
before. Yeah.
That's what I thought he might get out for holiday time, like to go to court right December 18th or whatever it was, 16th, whatever it is, right before court. I don't know. I felt like they might be letting him home for Christmas, you know, the way it was falling. I was surprised by the extra year on it just because of that for some reason.
You're expecting
no reason.
A Christmas miracle?
Good. I don't know. I just felt like they were going to let him go home to his family for Christmas. Just he did everything they asked him to do, the timing, and they bumped up the court date. Why would you bump it up right till then? You know, something felt.
They probably didn't want to carry this energy into 2020. They're like, yo, let's get rid of this shit.
Right.
In 2019.
All right, so shifting it over to some more gang activity on the other side, maybe. I don't know. Wack 100, Nipsey, Wack 100, this Nipsey, Wack 100 allegedly gets jumped and beat up by Nipsey's security guard and denies it and says, you know, there's a reward for anybody proving it. And I don't know. What do you think happened? I think.
You about to get the super exclusive.
Ooh.
Break the news to us, Shy.
I mean, we was at Rolling Loud.
Is that why you're smiling over there?
I'm just smiling at the expression that he had. We was at Rolling Loud. You know what I'm saying? We was at Rolling Loud. We did a really great interview with Game and Anderson .Paak, and Blueface was in there. It was funny because at the time when all of this stuff was allegedly going down, you know, all of Wack's people was conducting business. You know, he's the manager, and you know, everybody was conducting business. You know, I saw a bunch of bodies. I don't know what happened. I definitely didn't see him get knocked out or nothing like that. I just saw a bunch of bodies or whatever. I couldn't say if he got knocked out or whatever. But, you know, his comments about Nipsey, it really rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. You know, Nipsey, especially in L.A., it was beautiful, man. People was out there. When I say it was beautiful, I just mean just the respect and the love that they still give for Nip. You know, we had great conversations with a lot of the artists out there. It was almost a year to the actual day when Nipsey performed out there, and you know, he was so happy in 2018 to be performing right in his backyard. It was a great moment. You know, I'm sorry that, you know, whatever happened with Wack, it kind of took away from Game's moment as well, because right. You know, Game, Blueface as well. You know, Blueface performed out there, but you know, Game is he's a veteran in the game. He's an OG. He brought out OT Genesis. He brought out AD. He had Anderson .Paak with him, and you know, when we was in the trailer, a lot of artists were just coming through, giving them props. Lil Yachty came in for a little while, giving them props. Another guy who,
after putting his hands on somebody.
Well, that's our next thing is Lil Yachty apparently got to
you know, it's just unfortunate whatever happened with Wack. Like I said, I just saw a bunch of bodies moving, and you know, black people, a lot of times when we see a bunch of bodies moving, we want to move in the opposite direction.
Yeah, it was,
you know,
it was a very real situation because, you know, Shy has a really good relationship with Game, and we happened to be like right in the artist compound, so we were some of the first people who Game saw. He came in with like 100, like a mob, like Compton.
Yeah, big up New Jersey Devil was out there.
He was mobbing. He came right up to, you know, spoke to homie, and then they took off. So I'm just standing there, and this is just my viewpoint. And then Shy comes back over, and then there's just this big commotion. It's a big crowd, and in the middle of the crowd was just Wack kind of swaying back and forth, like just really upset. But I don't think nobody got knocked out. I'm pretty sure, especially he ain't look like a man who just got knocked out. The way he was moving,
and he actually came to the dressing room to tell Game that it was time for him to go to stage. So, you know, I don't think he was knocked out. But again, I just feel bad because that was a moment that was supposed to be for Game. Like, people should be talking about, you know, Game coming from, like, you know, he was right in the footsteps of the younger artists. We remember vividly when Game was just coming out with, you know, This Is How We Do and a bunch of new records, and now he's sort of the elder statesman. He's the OG. He even talked about on his album not being able to perform at Rolling Loud, and then you know, they was able to work something out. They obviously had a slot open because Juice Wrld obviously wasn't there, but they had a big tribute to Juice Wrld as well, so that I think that was the Juice Wrld slot. But they made a slot for Game. He came out there. That was his homecoming, and you know, performing in LA on what he's saying is his last album. He You know, he kept that story to me. I was trying to convince him. I was like, this can't be the last one. And he said it's definitely his last one. He got a lot of different businesses going on. And, you know, he still want to do the verses. He said he'd probably do the Andre 3000 thing, which brings us to another story later on. I know, I'm going too much. I'm too much. Somebody stop me.
The game thing, the funny thing about the game thing is that I recently, came across an interview I did with him in 2009. I think it was for the LAX album.
You're reading your old interviews? Is that what's going on at home on the weekend? Let me see what I did 10 years ago.
And one of the questions I asked him is, oh, is this really going to be your last album? And he's like, yeah, it's my last album. I'm like, wow, that was like 08.
Yeah.
But we'll see. This one
Rappers don't retire.
This one has more of an air of finality to it a little bit.
That's that Floyd Mayweather.
It's really good, too.
That's that Floyd Mayweather shit.
Yeah, I feel like, Floyd Mayweather's fighting more now than he retired when he announced it. And I feel like even with Too Short, remember Too Short retired? I feel like Too Short, his career is longer now since retiring. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
who's actually retired? Like, who really, really just retires? Like, I retired and then stopped, or even didn't announce it but stopped.
Malice. Malice.
Good point. Yeah, and then they just did the reunion together, right? So, you know, and then Mace retired, then came back. He thought he was
going to church. They set him up.
Shine retired, right?
Shine is retired.
Shine, I don't know if he announced it, but he definitely is not part of it anymore.
You know what it is?
Shine is running for what? Ambassador?
Yeah.
To take his father's seat?
In his family's footsteps.
Yeah, I talked to Shine. Yeah, I talked to Shine a few months ago, and his thing is that he's really focused on the youth out there in Belize, like, you know, because
he recently became a dad too, so he shifted around. Yeah,
and it's a lot of violence going on out there. Like you've been out there.
They had that because ever since they had the hurricane out there.
Yeah,
it's a lot of violence. So his thing is he's just really trying to steer the youth, especially the males out there that's wilding out into the right direction. Not saying that the music can't help, but you know he's
pretty removed from it. I think he's gone in the family footsteps more. I mean, when we went out there to visit him, it was all they told us was how violent it was outside of the compound he was in, you know?
Right.
And he had like a head police officer as his private security who was showing us crazy videos on his phone and photos of just people getting killed and people crazy stuff in Belize. So I mean, if he could do anything to help out there, it seems like that might be more important than him rapping. I don't know.
Yeah, his is definitely...
Because he's so far removed from that.
Yeah, his is definitely a career that's too short. It's almost like, you know, I like to relate everything to sports. It's almost like a Bo Jackson type situation.
I know that analogy. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Yeah.
You know, very short-lived.
I love his 30 for 30.
Oh, extraordinary.
Yeah.
But it was very short-lived, and you know, Shine, he just had so many obstacles for his career.
Country,
yeah. When I first got in the game, I met Shine. It was like going into 2000. He had just signed a Bad Boy, had a big bidding war. All these record labels wanted to get him. Me and Shine used to hang out a lot. We hung out with a lot of the same females. Good times. And when he first got in,
a little too much. With a lot of females, a lot of the same females. Good times.
Yeah, I gotta fast forward that one. That's a married man right there. But you know, he had to face the whole criticism of him sounding like Big, and you know that led to a lot of things in the industry and in the streets. He had a few run-ins in the streets with that situation. Some of them is documented. He won us over with his music. You know, he was able to shake that, and then the whole Puff thing happened with the shooting in the nightclub, and that just really derailed him. I think Shine would have really been looked at as like one of the real legends. Has had his career been able to progress. He still, to me, has like one of the best demos I've ever heard. Like if y'all ever go on YouTube or whatever and just hear his demo, it's about like 8-9 songs.
I still listen to the first album.
Me too.
regularly
Yeah.
enough.
The first two albums, yeah.
First two, I'm mostly about the the Shine album.
The first one, yeah.
The most.
It was
but,
good.
yeah.
It was good. It was good albums.
Yeah, I mean, Bad Boys is always gonna be.
Yeah.
That's always a
Yeah.
big record. Skip me the back.
All right, so you skipped it over real quick, but we had a Lil Yachty incident at Rolling Loud. They beat up a guy who shit on him. What was it? They talk shit about him as a rapper, and so they allegedly beat him up.
Again,
Shaw was there. He moved over to the side
was
real
there.
quick.
We was right there.
I saw.
I
You
felt
know
like
what?
Don King when I got back. When I got back to my computer, and I was like, "Damn, Lil Yachty had just got done mopping somebody up, and he came in there and said, what's up?"
We was sitting with him chilling. I seen him. He went over by the. They had a mural about the size of maybe half of this wall. They had a mural for Juice World, and we saw Yachty at the mural. He was getting some custom made sneakers. He was taking the pictures. Everything was cool. Said, "What's up?" Then we seen him later. He came in the dressing room with Game, and he was in good spirits. He was chilling. So I don't know. Lil Yachty is probably one of the most easygoing young guys out there. Like he's
nice. He's just nice.
Yeah,
right?
he's just a nice guy. So,
but how can you if you think about it, how can you really contain? It's challenging to get a bunch of different artists together with no type of issue. And salute to Tariq and and Matt and Brian and all of them, because even like with the Wack thing, like it was a really severe situation, because he's just like walking around and it's like security like walking behind him like the whole time, but the security was right on it. They're right on top of it. When they came to New York, they damn near had the whole New York State police out there, so they're very on top of the situation, but at the same time, it's to the point where it doesn't make artists feel uncomfortable, like, yo, I can't go there, or whatever the case may be. So, they show up. So
yeah, a lot of artists was walking around freely in that compound. We saw YG and Kalani, and who else was back there? Currency and Smoke Dizza. There was a lot of people out there. Smoke Perp, OT and AD. It was good for the most. Little squirmish here and there, never hurt nobody.
Yeah, because you talk about you in LA, you damn near not that far from like the real streets. Like when we was with Nipsey like a year ago, we was like, yo, it was damn near like not that far from his hood. You got real like gang activity going on out there. So the fact that like nothing, that was light. The fact that nothing really crazy took place, I saw the Lil Yachty thing and I had to laugh at the shit. I was like, wow. Like everybody was getting it in at a certain point, because he's...
Once he gets to Lil Yachty, it's everyone.
Definitely one of the last people who had ever... I was like, okay, I see you. Yeah. Because he came in and I was like, oh, all right, whatever. And I saw the video, I was like, all right, I see you. Putting in that work.
It's the quiet ones that get popping. Allegedly, we don't know what he did.
Reportedly, allegedly.
The guy did have a strikingly similar brighter than that orange jacket. Similar what Yachty may not had on, but I'm sure if he got into it, it was self-defense.
Okay, so Yellow Card is suing Juice World, even in his death, for $15 million with Juice World and his team for stealing some of their 2006 song "Hollywood Died" in the single "In Juice's Lucid Dreams." So Juice passes, they continue with their lawsuit. How do you feel about that? They got a lot of traffic this week of people having mixed feelings on let the dead be dead versus the dead made a lot of money and we want a piece of that. What do you guys think?
I mean, they want their money. You know what I'm saying? It's
because they know they're gonna make even more.
Should a lawsuit die with the main party dying? Is it looking distaste or bad for them to be suing a guy's estate now? Still a week after, 10 days after he's dead, or go get your money? Feels like a T-shirt, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that happens frequently. Like estates,
copyright.
Estates get estates get sued all the time. It's a part of the business, and you know, that song is so big. It's only getting bigger.
Right.
You know?
With Death comes even more success, especially with his big single. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess the question is it greedy or is it just, right?
It really depends too on how legitimate it is. I think if it was in progress before it happened, if you going after the dude, you know, in regard, like a big part of the motivation is, you know, they passed away, you know, they're gonna be, you know, inheriting like all these additional like finance and stuff. Yeah, that's in bad taste.
But it was in motion prior.
Yeah,
it was in motion prior. I mean, the thing is now with these records that sample and use interpolations, like you gotta be so careful now. Like people are really on it right now. I mean, that whole Pharrell Blurred Lines thing.
Yeah, that Rahman Dukes
is a major.
Didn't we just interview
that
Nick
changed
about
that changed
this?
the game,
right? And the new issue, he talks about how they're looking for if something has a sample in it or what they go through and all that. I mean, definitely, it felt like reading that, like they were like, okay, we got to watch this maybe more than we have in the past.
Right. Yeah.
I will say, you know, like Shah mentioned, again, when we was at that artist compound, we was literally like posted up like right near like this mural that what they had. So it got to a point like late Sunday evening, like everybody was starting to get off their sets and people was coming by and taking pictures up against it. And his whole team, like his immediate team, had all made their way over. It was like probably right after the tribute. And it just felt so, I felt so bad for them. It was just like a real fucked up moment because they was just like, you could tell they was really fucked up over. Yeah, okay. It was like his immediate team.
Yeah.
You know, and they was like all just like sitting there looking, and it was just like they just looked so lost. And
yeah, I mean, grief takes a while to get over.
Yeah, right? it was like a surreal moment for everyone, but especially them. They like, I can't believe that we really are.
Yeah, because it's like he was missing. It's like if you would have saw right after what happened with Big, it's like Kim, C's, like all of them, and it's like he was the only one that was missing. It was you know, we wanted to talk to them, you know, about some things, but we didn't even know how to even approach him. You know, that was one of the realest moments for me that weekend.
Yeah, this was a tough year, man. 2019, this was a tough year from Nipsey and ending it with Juice WRLD. Like we lost, you know, these guys are rocket ships. These guys are rocket ships, and so influential, so impactful in just a short amount of time. I mean, you know, Nip, he had a lot of years, you know, making the mixtapes, and you know his ascension is well documented. But it's like, damn, man, to lose like these guys just in
and how it happened
in just a matter of months. You know, one murdered. Drug overdose.
Yeah, this isn't coming natural, off. This ain't natural causes we talking about.
Like people still recovering from XX. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like Mac Miller. Yeah. Like we still recovering. Like, you know, I remember when Big and Pac died. I mean, that was back to back. That was just like somebody ripping your heart out, putting it back in your chest and ripping it out again. That, you know. And for all of these young guys to die in such a short amount of time, like since, I mean, we lost Yams in what, 15? Right?
Capital Steez.
I think Steez might have been that same year or 14. Yeah.
Like the past 4 or 5 years, a lot of young guys going, and it's, you know, a lot of it is drug related, but you know, the murders too. You know, the murders are, it's scary.
It's the price of fame.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be. That's the thing. It shouldn't be like these guys of, you know, trying to get away from it. Nip was at his store trying to help people. X was going shopping. You know, it's some terrible gut punches, and you know, going into 2020, it's like I just hope people are just more. I don't know. They got they got to move tighter. Even with Juice, how it came about, how they saying that the pilot.
Yeah, did you see Boosie was going off on that?
Yeah.
And he's right.
The pilot was snitching.
You pay all that fucking money to get a private jet, and you got the pilot putting you in that type. I mean, look, not excusing if whatever happened, but it's like, damn, you spending all that paper and you got the fucking pilot putting you in a bad situation. They should sue him.
Yeah, I mean it's the guy. I'm not making any excuses for the pilot, but he was obviously scared. He never seen that type.
Should have never took off.
Right.
Should have never took off.
If you was that uncomfortable, you should have never took off.
Did the pilot see the drugs?
I guess he saw the guns.
He said he saw the weapons.
Pilot, he saw the weapons, but he didn't know anything about the drugs.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm just.
They found.
I don't think we're getting the whole story there. I think there's still others. We're still getting.
And I still find it hard to believe too, like how he saw weapons. I'm like.
Yeah, like what are you guys pulling out the guns on the plane? Like.
You flying the plane. You up there, they back there.
They're back there. Like, how did he see that? Yeah, I'm not really.
That just doesn't make any sense. Unless again, before they took off, he's walking around and he sees it. And if that's the case, don't go nowhere.
Because they said the guns were found in the camera bag and the so and so. So it's somebody either take him out or put him in at some point for him to know about it, right?
Yeah, but this is why people fly private, like Rahman was saying, like they.
But if you fly private, are you legally allowed to fly with a gun?
Probably not.
Even if I don't think you're allowed to fly with a gun because you got state by state is all different gun laws, right?
Yeah, it was registered weapons, but it wasn't registered there. So
right.
I guess as long as it's legally registered, then yeah.
Yeah.
But you do, again, going off of what he was saying, you fly private for that level of.
It's a certain amount of discretion.
But you don't fly private to move 70 pounds of weed. So there is something questionable missing. Like where you find they had guns, there's also 70 pounds of weed that, if I remember correctly, the cops or the feds were alerted to besides that. So
well,
from what I've heard is, you had the pilot, but then you also had something else giving them a heads
up about the drugs. That's what I talk about.
What are we missing?
We gotta move right. We gotta move a little bit better than what's going on. Whether it's having, that drug situation is. That's just something we haven't really seen before.
And 6 bottles of coke. No, we saw it with Rollo. Rollo was busted. Yeah. Was it last year or the year before for flying around with presents, drugs wrapped as Christmas presents, right? Same time of year, kind of, whatever. And so we have seen the private plane with the drugs being moved on it.
You know what it is, though?
Hip to that.
You know what it is, though? A lot of these kids, this is their first time, and they're just coming into this, just rarely coming into this lifestyle. Like, they're just coming into the point where they could even afford to buy so much weed, and they're just taking these planes for the first time. And I'm sure it's one of the OGs telling them, yo, you get on a private plane, you ain't got to worry about nothing, because traditionally you didn't have to worry about it like that. But, just like...
We also don't know how many times it happened before.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So apparently it was reported that there were prior incidents.
But that wasn't the first time. So I think there was one in Sydney and one in New York or something. I
think that they said that there was one in L.A. Not that long before that happened.
But I don't think it looked like he was moving weight. I think it looked like from what I read, that it looked like it was his private stash of drugs or lean or whatever it is that they found there, not necessarily 7 pounds of weed. Because I don't know if they're going to let him go in Sydney or in LAX or whatever if they find 70 pounds of weed, and we would have heard about it more. Right. Getting caught with,
So that probably added to the panic a bit, I'm sure.
We're leaving out the codeine, cough syrup, the bottles there, yeah.
Again, like he said, it's just a matter of like moving right. You got to have the right people in your circle. That's why you have these guys around you.
Okay.
For those
unless your circle's part of it.
Yeah.
Which we have no idea of anything, but somebody put the drugs on the plane.
Right.
It's either him or somebody else.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that,
or knew about it, facilitated it.
Yeah, we had conversations at Rolling Loud just about the drug epidemic, and you know, one of the things that for me, I think it's just time for everybody just to stop being so cool. Like, I think if you have a problem, like, you gotta really bring it to the light, or you feel that you have a problem, let's talk about it. And even like some of the older G's, like, we gotta stop making fun of these kids. We gotta stop like really ridiculing them and, you know, calling them fiends, because, you know, older cats, we grew up in the time of crack. Either you was, you know, the crack dealer or the fiend. You know what I'm saying?
Retro conversation back to last week's retro conversation.
Yeah, but you know, and you know, crackhead is one of the most made fun of, and you know, they got memes, and even like they didn't disgrace Whitney Houston. You know what I'm saying? Like, just no respect whatsoever. But
with the album cover.
I love the album, but I hate the cover.
Right, with Pusha, right?
Yeah. I didn't like that. But I just feel that
was Kanye's idea.
We came up in a time where, you know, the crackheads was the butt of the jokes. You know, we laugh. A lot of us have crackheads in our family and went through drama with them, and sometimes you gotta laugh to keep from crying. But now it's different. You know, these are not the 40, 50-year-old people. These are kids. These is like,
so how much
16, 17
responsibility
years old.
does Future have in the idea that Juice told him, you know, I drink lean because of you, paraphrasing, not exactly like that, and you've got a Future song, it's Percocet, Molly Percocet, and this kid overdosed on Percocets. You know, where does it tie in? Do we point fingers? Do we not? Because if you're talking about the older dudes being more compassionate to younger dudes, does it also come down from the older dudes not rapping about it? Because look at the influence they have on the younger dudes.
I mean, the
younger dudes are going to become the older dudes at some point.
Yeah, I mean, but where did Future get it from? Right. You know, like, this stuff is going on. This predates Future. The great Pimp C. You know, he had a drug overdose. We love Pimp C.
Yeah, DJ Screw and
DJ
Screw. Guys from Houston.
That hurt me to the core, because June 27th is my birthday, and when I used to go to Houston, all they talk about was the June 27th tape. And Pimp C, I had a chance to really kick it with Pimp C. Like, I was there when he got out of jail. Me and Sway, Rahman, we went to Texas when he got out and really kicked it with him. And Pimp, I got a great story about me, Pimp, and their first show that they got out of, their first show that they had NBA All-Star Weekend. But it really hurt me. So this predates Future too. Like, with Future, I think it's somebody who's really telling his truth. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's really saying what he does, and you know, some people look at it as glorification, but that could be a cry for help. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's saying, I'm on Molly Percocet. You know, maybe we need to help him. You know, I don't think we could blame Future. He's telling his truth. That's in hip hop. It's all about telling the truth. But now it's another truth that we have to tell on the story. Like, we're seeing the outcome. You know, we're seeing like the death, the havoc that it's causing. We're seeing a generation that's being taken under. So I can't blame Future personally, but I think that and just knowing the type of person that Future is, I think that, you know, speaking about him specifically, I think we'll see.
Just because he had the relationship with Juice, in the comments.
Yeah, I mean, they made music. They made a whole mixtape together. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think we'll see him come out and talk about it.
I think he said something yesterday.
But I think we'll see him come out and talk about it musically. But, you know, we could pull up his quotes or whatever.
And you know, the labels, retailers, you know, us as media, I don't want to say us specifically, but they all, you know, they all play a part. The labels play a part. They push it. You know, if he's making the music, but they're giving them the pipeline to introduce that to the public. You know, so there's definitely a sense of responsibility.
Because ultimately it's art, right? Like, we're talking about everybody's music's art. So are we saying that the label should come in and censor your art if we're looking at it that way?
I've heard plenty of stories of artists talking about them trying to release music and butting heads with labels because labels didn't agree with the content, the subject matter of
They wanted
whatever.
more drugs.
They didn't like the titles. They didn't like the concept for a music video,
But
or whatever.
listen,
So they're conscious of it.
But listen,
is what
once
I'm saying.
we start censoring people that's talking about drugs, do we start censoring people that's talking about sex? Do we start censoring people that's
It's a
talking
very
about
thin
violence?
line, and it's not like drugs and music have not been synonymous with each other across genre. For
I mean, look at
50 years.
Look at Woodstock. Like you said, 50 years.
Yeah.
Look at Woodstock. That whole lineup.
Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah,
Luther, drugs,
that whole
yeah.
thing was drugs.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Drugs have been abundant in music and film. Look at Robert Downey Jr.
Look at River Phoenix.
River Phoenix.
Totally weird one to shout out, but that was a huge Hollywood star at the moment who dropped
I love
dead in
River
LA.
Phoenix
you know?
too. That was
Yeah.
he was an incredible actor, and I'm happy that Robert. I'm not mogging Robert Downey Jr. I'm just saying.
He got to the other side.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he was like the white Tupac
yeah.
for a while. Like as far as his run-ins with the law and everything, and not saying Tupac was ever on drugs or nothing like that. Don't at me.
No, but it was story after story after
Yeah,
story.
I'm just saying the controversy and everything. But he was able to turn his life around, and that's just the thing that's so sad about Juice and these other young men, and it's a lot of women overdosing right now that we're not
Whitney
even
Houston.
hearing about.
Yeah.
It's one of the most tragic stories ever.
Drugs are hard
Amy
to
Winehouse.
shake, man.
Amy
It's
Winehouse.
hard to shake.
Mm-hmm.
27 years old, Amy.
Michael Jackson. That was drugs.
There's just a whole different drug, but it was drugs.
I mean, they say
All
Prince.
right,
say
so we're going to move
Prince,
along
too.
a little bit just because we're running a little long today. So last news item, we saw Roddy Ricch with a #1 album, Go Freshman.
Yep.
That was a good look
Props
for him.
to Double XL.
Thank you. What did you guys think of the album, and what do you think album of the year was? This is our last podcast of the year, so what are you guys thinking for album of the year? Let's go out on a high
I think
note.
that Roddy album's fire.
High note. A good note.
Roddy album's really good. I don't know.
I was not pleasantly surprised, but I was happy.
Right.
I didn't know exactly what that would come from him because he's antisocial, on the quieter side. But I think that he definitely did what he had to do with it, and Atlantic should be happy with that.
Yeah, he's really good at what he does. He does the one specific thing really well, the singing, rapping, and he just kind of got it. And he has the kids.
He tapped into his lane. I was surprised that. Well, he talked about not signing with Meek. That was one of the things. Meek was one of the guys that really brought him out to the forefront and introduced him to a lot of people. But I think for that genre of music, he does it really well. One of the things that I like about him a lot is the clarity to go along with the tone. Like you really understand and you're able to absorb everything that he's saying. He did a great job at Rolling Loud. Again, we was there. And, that stage presence, really important.
Yeah, he was at Astroworld, and the sound went out, and he had to do his whole set. Wasn't hugely long, but his whole set with just a cappella. And you, at that point, it's a huge audience. You could be shook. You could, look back at everyone and be worried about stuff, but he just did what he had to do. Walked off stage. You could see he was a little pissed off after, but it didn't stop him when other people could be shook by the moment, of just like, I've got no sound. I've got no music. It's just me. But he really did what he had to do there, and I was like, okay, so that's a professional. That
Yeah.
he held it together.
He's
and he sounded good.
Yeah, and he's playing the game right. He's somebody who we're not hearing about getting in a lot of trouble. He's I mean, minor.
It's always a good thing though when you have new, young, successful artists evolving the game.
Yeah.
So, even though there was a lot of really dope music that came out and, we got the Games and the Fat Joes to say you got this...
Fabulous.
Yeah. Say you got this new young kid sitting at the top of the charts is a pretty dope thing.
Definitely.
It just really, underscores, the evolution of the game.
Well, another one that everybody seemed to really like this year, and you guys had talked about, was Freddie Gibbs' album. You know, not so new, but
people ready to
underrated
fight
in a lot of ways.
And
right?
shout out to Freddie Gibbs because he
Madlib, yeah.
all that shit that he dealt with. You know, he had a major.
That's a wild story.
He had a major case.
That is we did a very in depth story.
That was
on
some Tupac shit.
Yeah,
for real.
Yeah,
you know, and Freddie Gibbs, for anybody who knows him personally, like Freddie Gibbs, he's a real dude. You know what I'm saying? Like he don't fuck around.
And he been at it.
He don't take no shit.
Right?
Yeah.
He's been
real
at it
dude. That's
for
my man.
so long. Like he's been at it, you know, just continuing to push himself. You know, doing it on his own with Jeezy for a little while, back on his own. Now this Bandana project.
His album covers are pretty great too.
He's having fun.
Yeah,
he's having fun with it. I think that's one of the things that Freddie is able to embrace the star that he was. I think he always knew that he was a star, but he embraces the things that come along with it, like the showmanship, the antics, you know, not going too far, delving into the realms of a clown, but, you know, just giving us a little bit more fun than just straight gangster
Not
Gibbs.
taking it up too seriously.
Right. You know, because, you know, that's gangster Gibbs, but, you know, he's able to put on a little funny wig sometimes, a suit, and just enjoy it. There's a lot of people that's ready to fight if you don't say Freddie Gibbs and Liv had the album of the year. Like people like, yo,
yeah. I remember when he came up here, maybe 2 months or so before the album came out, and he played it, and I was like, this is gonna be a hard album to top. Like at that point I was like, I haven't heard anything better than this year. And
what comes close? What else did you like?
For me personally, I'm really into Anderson .Paak's Ventura album. I'm not so much hip hop on this one. He raps on a little bit here and there on a few songs, but I think this is like more like there's more like what makes him special, as opposed to the Oxnard album.
He's incredibly talented. Yeah, I mean, between the singing and the rapping, the drums, the musicianship.
Yeah.
I was happy this year that I had a lot of albums that really just spoke to the type of music that I love. Like, I really love Game album. I really love 2 Chainz album, where we getting back to lyricism, concepts. Fat Joe and Dre, they probably have my favorite album of the year. Not just because they're my friends, but it's got my favorite album. Like, it's an easy listen, 11 songs, hits on there. Really love the 2 Chainz album. I think that's a slept-on record. I don't know what happened with it. It had a lot of hype coming out, NBA All-Star, LeBron James, but I thought that was a strong record. I love what Rhapsody did.
Rhapsody's album's dope. Yeah.
The Dreamville guys, of course, but to me, album of the year, which I'm gonna give for the impact that it had, the Baby. I'm gonna give the
which one? Baby on Baby or
the latest joint? I'm gonna
Kurt?
Kurt. I'm gonna give that the album of the year, just because I think it really his album took him farther than what everybody else's album took them. Like, you know.
So you're basing it on the success of the album, not the track by track breakdown of what you think of it.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the I thought it was a quality album, don't get me wrong, but I just think the impact was so big. Like, it really introduced him as a new superstar.
He's had a huge year.
Yeah, him and Megan really had two breakout years. And last but not least, those Griselda boys. That album is just, you know, it reminds me of like old Wu-Tang, like just really gritty.
Really grimy,
everybody has their own personalities, their own voice, what they sound. Man, that Griselda, and they teaming up with Eminem. I gotta give Shady some props for, you know, giving those guys a bigger platform. And hip hop is in such a great state is that it's just something for everybody. Like, Griselda is selling out tours across the world. You know what I'm saying? You could go and see the Griselda, or you could go see a Megan, or, you know, it's something for everybody right now.
And they merch game is crazy.
Merch game is crazy.
Yeah, a lot of people don't really know that they're really popping with the clothing shit, big time.
I like those.
Anything else you guys want to add?
What's your
Any
album?
other albums?
Put my spotlight on real quick.
Spotlight.
So
I didn't see
I
that
really
coming.
Should we
feel
turn the
like-
lights out?
I didn't
I
know
really
what he was doing
feel-
over there.
obviously, like Shah said, a little biased with Joe and Dre because we've been waiting for this for a long time.
But I respect the precursor of we're a little biased, giving us the heads up.
But it's actually it's really good. Fat Joe does a really good album of putting together like really good music, and Dre is arguably like one of the most talented, slept on producers in my opinion. Him and Cool and Dre is like really dope. Been doing this shit for like 20 years. You know, you gotta really give it up to them. But I think that, in my opinion, that Jim Jones had the album of the year.
You have said that before, yeah.
Right.
You know, he put together like a really dope project, and
I'm sorry, Jim.
you know
I love that joint, too.
We've been fucking with with them Harlem boys since they've been out, and Jim was never really a rapper. You know, so to see the evolution where he's gotten to this point right now, like, while Cam was chilling, like Jim, Cam was chilling, Juelz was doing his own thing, like Jim put the Diplomats on his back. Diplomats is one of the most significant like factions that ever came out of New York City. You know what I'm saying? And he did that on his own, and I know he went out and he curated like all those beats and all those songs. There's a lot of records on that album. And it's challenging when you got a lot of records on your album, but they're all bangers. You
album was super dope.
He's when he took that job, it shows that somebody was really smart when they gave him that job as like an A&R.
Yeah.
Because he really knows how to put a project together. That and, Joe and Dre and, I love the Nas album, even though a lot of people was like, that's not an album. I thought that was really dope, and Mano had a dope joint. Big fan of Freddie Gibbs. You know what I'm saying? So anything what he does, and 2 Chainz is my man. I made the mistake of saying titty boy around my daughter one time, and she was like, titty boy, titty boy. My wife wants to kill me now over that shit, but 2 Chainz works really hard too. So it was tough deciding, but definitely think Jones.
It was quality. It was a lot of quality, and it seemed like we ended the year off really strong. I want to hear this Cam album now.
Yeah.
It's Purple Haze too. The
None of you
visuals.
said Kanye with all that hype. None of you said Post Malone or Tyler, which is interesting, just because those were the big albums, right? Those
Right.
two, yeah.
Lizzo as
You
well.
know what it
Lizzo.
was with 2 of those guys who you mentioned. I ain't gonna say no names. It was the antics that just like threw it off for me.
Yeah.
It's I just couldn't really get past it. It's like, just let the music speak for itself.
Yeah.
Stop dressing up as girls and stop faking like you religious and shit.
And with that, we'll go into 2020. Hope we get
What
a
was
bunch of good
yours?
music,
What was
right?
yours?
Oh,
you can't
everything.
skate
I
out
love
that
the,
easy.
The Baby's 2 albums. I thought Rhapsody had a strong album. I didn't dislike the Fat Joe album. I just didn't get into it the same way. Maybe I haven't listened to it enough. I still like Young Thug. I think he's fascinating. I like the first half of the album more than the second half, but I enjoy the first half a lot. I like Denzel Curry was out this year. I liked his project. Most what you guys said besides that. I did like Freddie Gibbs and Madlib. I don't know if I listened to it as much as you guys did because you guys were more diehard than I expected on that. But all the same stuff, It's been a good year for everybody.
And shout out to Fab.
You
And
know,
shout out to Fab.
You know who we forgot that had a super strong album? Port of Miami 2. That Port of Miami 2 is serious. Sometimes you be so close to a situation you
Shout out
forget
to
it.
Ross.
That Port of Miami 2.
When I think of Shaw, I think of Rick Ross, Busta Rhymes, like his and Fat Joe, like his crew of people. Like they're all 4 of them together somewhere,
4 Horsemen. I think Port of Miami and Fat Joe the 2 albums of the year. I think Port of Miami 2 didn't have the breakout single, but it was just a really just top to bottom,
Really solid, yeah.
Yeah, man. It was just like Game's album too. Game didn't have the really breakout single, but
you know what I mean. But we're in a day where you don't really need that. If it's a strong album through and through, we're gonna be listening to it because we're dedicated.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's true. But you know,
the single days are.
But that single will propel your album.
No, it will get. We don't need it like we used to.
Yeah, it will get more of the awareness out.
And I like Dreamville. You know, I look to you and feel like that's your favorite. But I did like Dreamville, the whole movement of it, and them coming together to record it, and
it was
everything about
outside
it.
Of the actual
Definitely
album.
a moment. It helped Earth Gang tremendously. You know, which I thought was fascinating. So definitely respect for how they released that project and promoted it together, and JID and all that. You know, and supporting each other, where you felt like they came away, and that was like some old school stuff. Everybody in the studio together, and then collaborating and liking each other after. And I think you really saw their relationships grow, as corny as that sound, from that project, which was kind of cool to see, like a crew really kind of become a crew or become more of a crew. So I respected that project. I just fell back and let you have your.
I thought Chance's album was gonna be bigger.
Yeah. Same.
I thought Chance's album was going, and he just canceled his tour.
I'm sure he did too.
Thought Kanye's album was gonna be bigger.
I'm sure he did too. All right, guys, let's wrap it up. It's a long one. Happy holiday, happy New Year, happy whatever you celebrate
Happy
to
holiday.
everybody.
Feliz Navidad.
Yes, see you next year, and you should put that shirt back on. It's special.
Let's get it.
There you go.
Bang.